The Democrats started the day hoping, praying for a so-called blue wave, their goal to wrestle control of the House of Representatives and the Senate off the Republicans. It's looking like they've got the job half done. In the Senate, 35 of 100 seats were up for grabs. The Republicans have held on to their majority there. The House of Representatives, we're told, the news flashes are coming in, that the House of Representatives has gone to the Democrats. All 435 seats there went to the ballot box. We'll keep you posted with those numbers still trickling in over the next 2 hours. But whatever the outcome, this will shape the future of Donald Trump's presidency and determine how tightly his hands are tied. As well as a referendum on his presidency, it is a test of whether the Democrats have been able to turn liberal anti-Trump outrage into action. We'll hear from some voters themselves shortly, but first let's go to our correspondent in Florida, Steve Mort. Hi Steve, what is the latest there?
Well, the latest here in Florida is a different bag from what we're seeing nationally. What we've seen, of course, is the Democrats take control of the U.S. House of Representatives, but as you'll see at this Democratic watch party behind me, it's a somewhat subdued crowd, and the reason for that is that Democrats in this state do not seem to be doing as well. In the governor's race, which was one of the closest in the country, we've seen the Republican that really ran on a Donald Trump type ticket that pinned his colors to the Donald Trump flagpole, if you like, running as a Trump Republican, pulling off a win here against Andrew Gillum, who was hoping to become the first African-American governor in Florida history. The Democrats have not held a governor's mansion here in Florida since the late 90s, and this was, they'd hoped, would have been a big pickup, and that doesn't seem to have happened. We also have another very close race for U.S. Senate, where we see the current governor of Florida, Rick Scott, in a neck-and-neck battle with the Democratic incumbent, Bill Nelson. There has been no concession in that race yet. In fact, we've heard the campaign for Bill Nelson saying that there have been some problems with vote counting in Palm Beach County, which is a county that leans towards the Democratic side. 7 precincts apparently where machines have failed to report their results, and those results are being taken to the supervisor of elections by thumb drive, say the campaign. They're also disputing the count in another precinct in Palm Beach County, saying that they do not think that there should be 100,000 additional votes going towards Rick Scott, that in fact one of the U.S. networks has declared. So it's neck and neck when it comes to both races, and once again Florida is living up to its reputation as a bellwether state.
Yeah, and Steve, that is interesting, the controversy over the votes there, because Florida has been tangled up in legal action before, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Of course, many people will remember the 2000 election, Bush versus Gore, the first time that President Bush won the White House, where, of course, it came down to just a handful of votes in a state which now has a population of 20 million people. And, of course, back then, the voting machines were much different. You had to pull a mechanical lever to vote for the candidate that you wanted to win. And you had that bizarre spectacle of a recount where people had to take the ballots, physically look at them, and see if you had what they called, of course, back then, hanging chads, where the ballot hadn't been fully perforated. That isn't the case this time. It's all done electronically. You check the box, if you like, on a paper ballot, but then that is fed into a machine, and the machine will count it for you. There's no way for the person who's cast a ballot to determine whether the machine has read it correctly, but you can see whether your vote has been counted. So there is no manual hand count here in Florida. Now, that's all done by computer, which is why you get results pretty quickly. One thing we can say for certain, though, is those results are very, very close.
The other thing about this state is obviously it supported Trump in the 2016 election, but 2 times prior to that, it was all for Obama. So what should we read into the results so far today?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, many people were saying coming into this evening that Florida was essentially as close as you could get to a referendum on the Trump presidency, because in the governor's race, you had a Bernie Sanders-style progressive candidate in Andrew Gillum running against a Donald Trump Republican, really the sort of personification of Donald Trump's Republican Party in Ron DeSantis. And what the people in Florida seem to have done is said that, whilst Donald Trump seems to be unpopular, this state's economy is doing very well, and it has done for the last couple of years. And many people put that at the door of Donald Trump's economic policy. So you may have seen some voters saying, well, we might not like everything that Donald Trump does and says, but we like the fact that his economic policies seem to be working here in Florida at least, and we are therefore going to give him the benefit of the doubt by voting for Republicans this time around. That obviously isn't the case across the entire nation, where you have seen Democrats picking up enough U.S. House seats to take the House of Representatives back into control, and that, of course, could be a big thorn in the side of President Trump's administration in the second half of his first term in the next couple of years or so. But here in Florida, at least, it seems that the president has been given the benefit of the doubt. At least that's what it looks like at the moment.
Thank you for that. That is Steve Mort in Florida there. So the governorship has been won by the Republican candidate there, and the Senate is still being positions still being fought over there. Very tight race, and some concerns about voting in that state.